Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here today to talk about a few off-grid skills that you can start learning right now. And it doesn't have to cost much money or any money at all to just start learning some of this stuff. And this is why I wanted to bring these things up, because it doesn't require a massive investment, but it's something you can start learning to do now. Whether it be you plan on living off-grid or you want to be ready for whatever may happen and you don't have the electricity you need to be able to get certain things done you would normally do. So the first one, it would be learning how to sew by hand. So even though treadle machines are great, and that's one great off-grid way that you can sew, the thing is not everyone can afford the expense of buying not just the treadle machine itself, but also the table. That's the most expensive part, is getting your hands on a good treadle table. Though sometimes you can find a decent price on them secondhand. You got to then hope that you got all the parts and pieces to make it work properly. But hand stitching is something anyone can learn how to do. I'm going to go ahead and link to the video I did a year or so ago on 3 basic hand stitches that are very simple. There's a lot more than just that, but there's 3 basic ones that you can use, and I'll link to that down below. And just know that I've been in positions, in fact, right now I'm working on some repair work on a guy's hunting vest that a lot of it's stuff that'd be very, very difficult to try to do on the machine. It's much easier to do by hand. So not only am I doing repair work, I'm also making a few little alterations to it as well. And just having a little bit of skill with a needle and thread can be really, really helpful, especially if you've got stuff that needs repair. And along with that, because they go hand in hand, would be learning how to darn socks so that you can extend the life of any pair of socks that you may have. They get a hole in them. Have a video on that as well, because darning, though it involves stitching, it's not the same thing as sewing 2 pieces of fabric together, but you're actually weaving them together, the different sides. And then another one that can go along with that is getting yourself an awl. This is a pretty inexpensive thing that you can get. An awl is really great for repairing heavy duty things, whether it be something that's leather. Here's the handle to it. You get a big, huge needle like this. This particular kit even comes with the material needed. And you can see right here, I've got a thick piece of that stuff coming out because I've used this. One of these days I need to do a video showing you how to use this, but I'm gonna have to learn it again because I haven't needed to do it in a while. But it is a super handy thing to have on hand and learn how to use, because if you have, I'll give you a couple of examples. So these examples would likely not necessarily apply to you. You never know. At least it'll give you an idea. But if you have something that's big and heavy, like our martial arts instructor, had some hanging bags, big, heavy hanging bags, and the straps, they'd been so well used that the straps were starting to break and come apart, the threading that held them in place. So I offered to bring my awl to class, come in early and repair them for him, which I was able to do. And that would extend the life of them much longer and probably hold better than the original stitching in the first place. And then years before that, we had a trampoline for the kids. I had several ways of extending the life of that trampoline. And one of those is when the stitching for the straps that hold the springs in place on some of them would start coming apart, and then the whole thing would come off. I would use this awl to stitch that, because it's a lot of real thick material, plus it's going through the mat of the trampoline itself. And then I was able to do the repair work and really extend the life of that trampoline. In fact, we never tossed it out. It's just that eventually, when we turned our whole backyard into a garden and our kids were grown anyway, we ended up giving it to the neighbors, who then, when they moved, they gave it to some other neighbors that had kids. Now, moving on to the next point, that would be learning how to use your whatever you already have, or if you don't already have, these can be less expensive investments than, let's say, buying a wood stove, which can be very expensive. But learning how to use your barbecuer, your camp stove, and whatnot to cook and bake on. Now, yes, it is a skill. It's something that can take practice if you're not used to doing that. Or you can even build your own solar oven or rocket stove. Now, I did a video a couple years ago on different solar ovens that you can look into. It's going to depend on the person, what you're looking for. But in that video, or underneath that video, as well as in the video, I also was talking about ways that you can build your own solar oven with just basically trash. You don't need that much stuff. You can take an old frame that has glass on it and keep it in the frame and use that as the top, and some aluminum foil and a cardboard box. A couple of cardboard boxes because you need the insulation. But anyway, under that video, I did link to a blog page where it gave instructions on how to create your own solar oven. So once you do that, and you can do that for so cheap, that once you do that, then start learning how to use that, because it is going to be different than using a conventional stove or oven. Any of these things are, even your barbecuer. A lot of people have barbecuers and they think of using that for steaks and hamburgers and hot dogs, but you can bake in it. You can cook on it. You can put pots and pans in there and use that just like you can with a camp stove. It's just going to take practice. A rocket stove is another thing that you can look up ways that you can build one for yourself out of bricks or patio blocks. You may still have to buy those things, but it can still be less expensive than investing in a pre-made rocket stove. But either way, once you have these things, then just start practicing on them, just like I did in that video that I then remastered and put on my second channel, which I'll link to that video down below. So it was shot in 2016 or 2017 of me doing all of my cooking that day on the rocket stove and showing all the different things I was making on it. So you might want to watch that and get a few ideas there. Number 3 would be, and this may involve some investment, but keep in mind there's a lot of things you can find at secondhand, garage sales, Facebook Market, whatever. And that would be getting yourself some hand tools, which in one of my live shows, I had Patrick come in and show some hand tools that he has, which I then turned into a separate standalone video, and I'll link to that down below. So I recommend getting yourself some of these basic tools, such as hand saws, screwdrivers, hammers. These are things people should have on hand anyway, but especially with things like saws or planers or whatnot, if you have this stuff there, these are things that don't require electricity. Like even a battery-powered drill is still going to need electricity if your batteries go dead to charge the batteries up. So if you don't have a generator to do that charging, then you're going to need to learn how to get pretty handy with different types of drills that are run strictly by hand, manually. And there's many other tools I could list, but just think of some of the things you're going to need to possibly repair the most. What kind of tools are you going to need for that job, and see if you can find at least secondhand ones and then learn how to use them. And then another one is that, and I highly recommend this. I know time can be a factor for all of us busy people, but figure out, start with one of the two. I started with crocheting. I still haven't picked up knitting. I kind of started to work with it a little bit. I've got a book that teaches me how, and I just realized this. I like to crochet so much better. And so one of these days, maybe if time allows, I'll learn how to knit. But I was able to pick up on the basics of crocheting in just a few hours, tops. And immediately started making an afghan. And you can get yourself a book. The one I got was called Learn How to Crochet in a Day. And if I can find the link to that, I'll put it in the description box down below if it's even still available. But I definitely did learn how to crochet in a day and started making my own Afghans. And then moved on from there, learned more skills, developed some of my own patterns. And the thing is, not only can you make, once you have either a skill like crocheting or knitting or both, then you can make your own warm hats, gloves, sweaters, blankets, and so much more. And it doesn't require any electricity to do that. And that's what I think is so great. Not only that, but once you have those basics, you can also learn how to fix things, figure out how to fix maybe sweaters you already have, or knitted or crocheted blankets you already have. You've got a hook or a couple of needles, you can actually repair those things and make them last a lot longer, just like the darning of the socks or using the awl. And then the next thing I have on my list is learning how to, if you're not already gardening, first of all, learn how to garden. You don't have to be on the grid to learn how to garden. And that includes starting your seeds. A lot of people believe you have to have a source of heat, like an added source of heat and an added source of light, to be able to start seeds, start new plants. Well, I'll tell you that one of the first things I decided, even though we live in rain country and it's dark so often, especially during the time of the year where you're trying to get seeds started, I decided I was going to right away, not even bother using any kind of external light, that required electricity, because I wanted to know that I could start seeds without using electricity in case the electricity wasn't there for me to run lights and heating pads and more. And yes, even in our cold, dark, wet climate in the late winter, early spring, I can successfully start seeds in my living room using a south-facing window, no added heat, no added light. I just put them in the window and they will grow. Now with my tomatoes, one thing you'll find about tomatoes, if you don't have a light right above them, they can get a little bit leggy. I don't care. I do turn them usually as they start to grow, because they'll want to point towards the window. And then once they get to where they're fully all pointed towards the window, I will turn them, and that forces them to bend back the other way. I believe that makes the plant stronger. Plus, if it's leggy, that gives me more plant to put into the ground to make it more sturdy once I go to plant it. And I've had no issues starting seeds that way, except for when it comes to seed plants that just really don't like this area, but I keep trying. So if you have a south-facing window, you can do this. And my living room is not only has the best south-facing window to start seeds in, it's also the warmest room in the house because it is where our wood stove is. So, of course, in that case, it would involve you having to have some kind of off-grid source of heat to be able to do that. But I just wanted to throw these ideas out there so that you could start considering what you're going to do to start your seeds in the event you don't have electricity for the added heat and light. And I did write one more down, and it seems kind of silly for some of these things to call it a skill, but it is. Everything takes practice, and that is figuring out a way that you can wash clothes without having to use electricity. Now, a lot of you know I have an off-grid laundry setup that I have had to fall back on. It's not something I use every day. Now, once we first set it up, I did use it every day for a while, so I could get practiced and find the best ways of agitating the clothes and wringing them out and using the wringer. And we worked through a few little details so I could still have that thing inside. And I'll link to the video I did on that where I discuss all the things that we did and how I use it, if you'd like to learn about that. But I also have a video on off-grid laundry options. So there's a lot of things you can do that don't have to cost a lot of money, if any, so you can be prepared to wash clothes in the event of a power outage. I mean, I've done, when we used to have a camp trailer, and every summer we'd go on long trips with the boys. And one year we ended up kind of stuck in a place for longer than we should have been. It just because we had a vehicle breakdown or something. I can't remember exactly what happened, but anyway, and I had some clothes that needed to be washed, and we didn't have a washer and dryer in our camp trailer. So what I did was I put the clothes in the tub, and because we at least had the bathtub, and put some water and soap in there and just agitated the clothes with my feet. Just stomp, 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 stomp. And then did the same thing with the rinse. And then just hung them up in there in the bathroom so they could dry in there. There's a lot of things you can do, but you got to start thinking about these things and then practicing these things. Because, even though it may sound pretty cut and dry, some of this stuff, when you start doing certain things, especially in your area with what you have, you might find certain methods are going to work better for you that are going to be a little different than what somebody else is doing, including myself. So it's always a good idea to think about and then start practicing certain things before you find yourself in the position that you have to depend on it. Once you have the idea of this down, it's going to make it so much easier when either A, you go fully off grid because that's your choice to live that way, or B, you're forced to be off grid because you have no power. So anyway, that's just a few ideas. There's a lot more I could do, but these are things that are easy to start picking up on and can cost either very little money or none at all just to get started. And if you have any other thoughts and ideas you'd like to share, please put those in comments down below. And thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.